Sure. My name is Vlada, and I run the Pilates Studio Dublin, which is in Dublin, Ireland. And I'm a Romanas Pilates teacher, and I'm also have become a Romanas Pilates teacher trainer since the last year, the end of last
Okay.
year. So that's something new, you know, and it's bizarre because the promotion has happened, but obviously the world is at a standstill. So
Yes.
there's so much I can do about it. Yeah. So, and I'm
Yeah.
an immigrant to Ireland from Ukraine. I
Okay.
moved here when I was 15 with my
Mhm.
family. So I've been here, I'm 33 now. I've been here more than half of my life.
Amazing. Very cool. Jumping back to the welcoming piece for a second, like this is that definition at the beginning. I'd love to hear just your opinion on that. This is cool. We've talked about so many things in the last couple of days in terms of for our conversation, but just this morning I was musing on the difference between welcome and belonging.
Yeah, I think it depends. Depends whether, like, who are you um, kind of posing the question to? You know, you can be
Yes.
welcoming to everybody, right?
Hmm.
But people have to figure it out themselves where they belong. You know, everybody cannot, I mean, that's how I feel. Everybody
Yes.
cannot belong or like the same thing.
Hmm.
So, I mean, the beauty out there is that there is so many different things for everybody, right?
Yes.
So that's, I guess, my
Yes. And that's
reply
a
to
good,
you.
no,
So
and that's a
I'll,
very
yeah.
high level answer. So I want to bring that down one more level to what that looks like in our spaces, in our Pilates spaces,
Okay.
because we talk about
So
in body types and you know what I mean? Like there's so many different layers to that. So let's
yeah.
just take it down one more.
Okay, let's take it down to, for example, an online Zoom class, right?
Yes.
I will, like, if somebody is newer and it's their first or second class, I will make sure that they are seen, but I'm going to hold back on corrections and telling them that, you know, this is wrong or this is wrong, or because it's not. It's just, you know, they come from a certain experience and I come from, you know, I'm teaching something. So, and we have to meet somewhere, right? So I'm
Yes.
actually, first, I'll probably observe more and then I'll try and see actually how can I make this person feel belonging, if you know what I mean. So
Yes.
on that, because I teach small classes, so that's
Hmm.
my way of making people belonging. But also, I never address, you know, I never say this is the only option, and you know, you have to do this exercise in this particular way. I will see who is in class, and I will notice what's happening, and I'll give the options.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. I with my online classes, I run 3 days of classes, and on one day it's like I say like it's applies method where we may unpack a few exercises just to understand a roll up or roll like a ball, whatever. And then the
Hmm.
next one is applies class where like this is the order and we're gonna flow through it, not dig so
Hmm.
deep in terms of the technique, but move safely. And then there's a workout where I can just really let's focus on a few pieces and make it really challenging, get your heart rate up or get you sweating with understanding how deep this exercise can be. So
Yeah.
it's one thing to do that, but then if certain people show up and we've had a snowstorm for the last 5 days in a row and everyone's back is jacked up from shoveling, it's like, well, we're just
Yeah.
going to do this today instead. Like, so like all this stuff goes out the window so that we can accommodate the people that are in the room.
Yeah, leveling is hard because, you know, somebody who is a beginner and who is an athlete or, you know, comes from a certain background is still a beginner maybe when it comes to Pilates, trying Pilates, versus somebody who is a beginner and, you know, is maybe quite non-active in terms of their exercise, you know, quite
Yes.
sedentary. I don't like that word, but you know,
Yes.
so you can't really even compare them because they'll kind of, you know, I think anytime when you're a beginner, the main thing is not to do too much too soon, right?
Yes.
Uh, and then with certain people, you have to challenge them appropriately. So yeah, it's sort of, you know, again, that's why I prefer, you know, smaller classes personally. But at the
Yes.
same time, you know, teaching a bigger class is a good challenge for me as a teacher, and that's where all the options fly out.
Yes, totally. Absolutely. So tell me about Pilates in Ireland. I mean, I was just like, oh, I don't know, like, are there a lot of studios? Like, what's the demographic of the Pilates space there?
Ireland is a kind of a small country, but at the same time, there's a lot going on. I mean, our fitness Pilates industry is very diverse. There's a lot
Hmm.
going on, even though, I've been running my studio for what is going to be 6 years almost this
Okay.
summer, the end of the summer. So 5.5 years or so. And before that, I guess a little bit about me. I've been working in the fitness industry for over 16 years because I got my certification when I was 17 in the end of school, and I kind of
Okay.
started doing it part-time
Yes.
through college. So, I've come into Pilates through fitness industry. And what's happening right now is in Dublin, there is a lot of reformer group classes, very popular. There is a lot of fitness hybrid Pilates, yoga Pilates type of classes, which are very fun and popular and are quite. Why does it happen? Because rents are expensive. We're as expensive as
Okay.
London or sometimes New York. So, that's how instructors can make money. That's how the studios can pay their rent.
Yes.
There is physio-based Pilates as well, and then there is an umbrella of contemporary studios. There's not that many fully equipped studios. And when it comes to classical, there's only a few. So there's
Okay.
myself, there is Pilates Center in Clontarf and Enlightened Pilates in Malahide.
Hmm.
And we all know each other, and we actually have a great relationship. And
Oh, good.
yeah, and I mean, there's another Romanes teacher that I know of is in Sligo, and my teacher trainer has moved back to Paris, so that's it. Classical is
That's
not
it.
really a word that people are familiar with here.
Right. Well, and that's interesting because now I don't, that conversation between classical and contemporary for a person walking off, off the street into Pilates, what do we do with that? We just say this is Pilates, and if there's 80% of it's contemporary.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna actually come back to the point that you're making at the start. You were saying, do we kind of glaze over that subject and sort of stay at a comfy
Mhm.
level and not talk about it? Do we raise the subject and say it how it is? And it's certainly up to everybody, right? But
Yes.
I like when the person walks into the studio, I like to talk straight. But at the same time, when the person walks into the studio to me and they don't need to know that. They come to me as a professional. So I'm just going to show them what I teach. I'm
Yes.
going to keep them safe. I'm going to, some people eventually start asking these questions, not usually at the
Hmm.
start. I also have a big number of students who are actually contemporary teachers and other classical teachers from other schools who are either coming in for a few sessions for classes or they come and train
Yes.
with me regularly and they want to learn the differences.
Hmm.
They ask me a lot of questions and tell me, well, why is it this way? Why is it that way? So I've become a Pilates scholar, which has, been great
Yes.
for me and my students. And I've had to learn to address the topic without from initially qualifying, 6 or 7 years ago, to
Yes.
sort of coming into this industry. A lot of my colleagues run very good professional contemporary studios in Dublin with very thorough, good education. And then, as we were talking about, maybe there's a lot going on.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. But I think the point that you make, yes, as Joel's saying, you're the keeper of the classical torch in Dublin.
Yay,
Is
me. Well, there's a few others, but sure, I'll take it.
yes, but it's interesting because like what you said there, are people don't care. Like I mean, they have pain.
Hmm.
Can you help my pain? I have back pain.
Hmm.
Can you help me? Yes or no. It's not gonna be,
Yeah,
wait a minute, are you gonna help me with classical or are you gonna help me with contemporary? It's, are
yeah,
you going to help me? I believe I can help you. Come have a seat, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, my biggest pet peeve is when people like I've because I've been to all kinds of classes. when I was opening up the studio, and before that, especially when I already opened the studio, I've been to majority of studios in Dublin. And I mean, I've studied in New York, so of course I've went around New York, tried different things, but which was, a great thing that I was able to do that. But at the same time, I know what's going on around, and that's kind of, the good thing. But at the same time, not everybody needs. I kind of lost my point there. Not everybody needs to know it all, right?
Yes. No, you're right on track. Because you're saying like we don't have to just tell them our whole lineage when they're coming in to find out if they need help or not, right? Like, yeah, I follow. Yeah. Your point came across. Yeah. So what would you say is your elevator pitch then? So if you're walking down the street and someone says, "What do you do?"
I don't say that anything. I just let them come to me. I mean, thank God the business works in a way where, customers do come to us. And I know I'm not, one thing is important that I've distinguished for myself, and that's something that brought me from fitness industry to Pilates. I'm not in a sales business. I'm in a service industry. I'm in a health and service, kind of, I would like to, if you come to me, I'll teach you, if you'd like to know it, but I don't like selling. That's, I guess, why I started doing Pilates, because coming from fitness and doing, I don't know, we did so many qualifications, and it was all 2 days kettlebell. You're a master, you're a teacher, spinning, you name it, and it just goes on and goes on and goes on. But with Pilates, I guess that's why I looked at the overall picture and tried to pick something that has a little bit more what seemed to me in the time history and roots to it, and then I just kind of went with it. I was actually, from coming from a fitness background, I was working with kind of,
like
I had some knowledge in,
or like group fitness classes.
So all of it, I say about for 8 or so years, I started with a fitness instruction qualification, which included personal training as well, but mainly I did fitness instruction group classes and programming on the gym floor and making up, training plans.
Yes.
And I realized that, years later, how bad we were.
I know. I was saying that
we were given this search, and you were, said, "You're a fitness instructor. Congratulations." And then you start lifting heavy weights and you end up injuring yourself, So again, I guess probably that comes with age and experience as well.
Right. I know.
And then eventually I went into college to study leisure management, which is kind of sports management.
Yes.
And there I did sports massage qualification, which I sort of started doing part-time after that. And I continued to freelance more so as a group trainer, a group class trainer.
Yes.
In LA Fitness and Dartree, which maybe it will tell someone who is listening later where it is, and LA Fitness in Dublin. And then later on, I got into a bit more of a personal training. And then I suppose I switched into corporate gym where we did a bit of everything. It was in Citibank with Newfield Health. I've tried other places, but that's where I was for a few years, and we were doing fitness instruction, group, personal training, sports massage. It was only 3 of us, and all 3 of us, including
you sound like
the
an
boss.
army too.
we were
three,
the support. Yes. We were what's keeping Citibank together.
Yes.
We were this kind of social place more so. But at the same time, I enjoyed it, and I enjoyed the people aspect. I enjoyed helping people in pain, with maybe starting to research into more kind of exercise, into rehabilitation, connecting the dots there. Yeah, exactly, yes. And that's where sliders, Dynabands, Spitballs came into for me. So then when I looked into the world of Pilates, my eyes were, okay, anatomy, fitness, sliders, I can see that happening.
Yes.
And then I can also see this happening. And this looks totally out of this world. Like, it looks very unconventional.
Right.
So I was drawn to that because, obviously I also just Googled the history of Pilates, and Romana came up and Joseph Pilates came up. Romana was alive at the time. She didn't teach anymore. I didn't know that, but I just emailed the guys and I said, "How do I study with you?" And they just said, "Well, you can start in Galway, which is a city in Ireland, well, town." I mean, Dublin is it a city? It's about a million or and a half people here, but
Yes.
it's a big town. It feels like a small town sometimes, especially now because we have to stay within the 5K
Everyone's
radius.
inside. Oh, really? Eh? Yeah. Wow.
So, but Galway is about 2.5 hours away on the bus. So for a year, I was going to Galway every Saturday because I was working Monday to Friday
Wow.
in
Yes.
the corporate gym to do my pre-training for the entrance into Romana's Pilates teacher training. So that
So
was
a
fun.
year of pre-training to get
Yep.
into the program.
Well, sometimes less, sometimes more. It
Yes.
depends again what background you come from and
Yes.
how's your fitness, everything. But yeah, I did about 50 or 60 one-on-one hours with
Yeah.
Joyce Byrne, and I used to do a couple of hours at a time, and I used
Mhm.
to sleep on the bus back and forth.
I can imagine. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then
Gotta pay our dues, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So because I guess the biggest thing about training is when you go into training is you learn how to teach. You already
Yes.
know the exercises that you've
Mhm.
done them before. I guess it's kind of almost the same as when you play sports and then you become a coach. If you're a coach, you
Yes.
have better played sports before.
Right. Yes.
So, but again, there's, a lot in the industry nowadays for everybody, right? You don't have to do
Hmm.
it my way.
Right. Exactly. Well, that's a great segue to teacher training programs because in the way that that was done, and all these this pre and obviously if you've been teaching, you're bridging from another program. It's a different dialogue altogether.
Hmm.
But you also came from a fitness background, so you knew how to teach because you understand crowd management from teaching a group fitness class, or you understand biomechanics to some base level as a personal trainer, right? So you're coming with a skill set already, and now layering in Pilates.
Yeah, but you know what? I had to park it. I actually had to park it for a while, and I had to
Okay.
come into it with the beginner's mind, I
Yes.
feel,
Well
and it
said.
was very useful. It definitely helped. The background definitely helped, but at the same time, it didn't mean that I had to learn less.
Hmm.
I might have been a little bit more uh, comfortable with, calling a math class in front of the apprentices.
Yes.
But when it came to learning actual Pilates exercises, I had to, because I feel like in classical Pilates, we look at exercises and the body in a little bit of a like you have to put your Pilates hat on. You
Yes.
can't think in terms of reps.
Nope. Yes.
As you know, anatomy is relevant,
Hmm.
but it's more like a mechanic. You sort of almost you learn to think the Pilates way. You put
Yes.
on your thinking cap, you look at the body, and you know the way how mechanics, after years of apprenticing and looking and
Hmm.
assembling, disassembling, they sort of like you can't just take a book and read, okay, this part goes there, this part goes there. You sort of like sometimes have to hear the car, you know,
Yes.
or
Yes.
see.
Yeah. Yep. I follow you. You're
So,
talking about me.
yeah, so basically, I felt like I had to park it, and a lot of people had to park it, and some people were like, "I am a master trainer in sports,"
No.
and people and teachers were like, "Yeah, yeah, we know that, but like, listen
But
to
yeah,
this." Yeah.
honestly, no, I think I believe Nitu is on here, and she did a teacher training program at the same time I did, and I found that it was difficult not only because of my fitness background, but because of my also like I had done a teacher training program prior to it as well, so I had to unlearn
Yeah.
personal training and
Yeah.
unlearn the last teacher training program to be able to put this on. So it's
Yeah.
like a golfer who's been golfing for 15 years and then you're gonna teach him a new swing. Like you spend half your time trying to unlearn before you can even apply the new stuff. And that's
Absolutely.
difficult. It's
It
very
is.
difficult.
It's like almost double the challenge because, as I said, a
Yep.
lot of the times now, even teachers who would like to train to be teachers now with Romana's Pilates, it's myself in Dublin and also Rebecca in London, a lot of Kinetic Pilates, like a lot of teachers from either, as you described yourself, from either other schools, classical or contemporary, come and they want to learn. And sometimes it takes a little bit almost longer than if you have a blank canvas,
Yes.
to kind of for them to hear through. But
Absolutely.
eventually, it's a nice challenge. Like, it's sort of, I feel like what you
In
were talking
retrospect.
about. Yeah, yeah. In retrospect, like you're challenging your brain, right?
Yes.
You're challenging your ego. Like that's a
Oh,
big
for
one.
sure. Oh, like Vlada, I failed my intermediate test out and had to take it again and had to pay to take it again as well. Like so that like my 600-hour apprenticeship took me close to 8 by the time it's all said and done because like
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like
yeah,
I didn't want to just like pass the test. I
yeah.
wanted to understand the content.
But that's great. And that's what I
Yeah.
am about, as we've talked with you, in terms of this education as a business versus as a service, and how
Yes.
nowadays, because Pilates is such a trendy, popular world, everybody wants a piece of it. And it's become this commercialized, sometimes watered down, like, we'll just copy these notes and you give us the money. It's a transaction, you give us the
It's a
money, we'll give you a
transaction.
search. We give you a cert, off you go, good luck, and then
Yes.
it doesn't unfortunately work that way.
No, right.
Yeah.
So now what are the opportunities with the teacher training programs that are out there right now? If they can move from just teaching the exercises and move away from basically like one of the common accusations right now is like you see I have Grotz equipment behind me.
Hmm.
There's a Stott ladder belt right there. We start teaching to the equipment. It's almost like we're empowering people to be able to teach on equipment as opposed to teach the exercises,
Yeah.
right?
So your question, I heard a few questions there. So
Yes. So the main question is, sorry, so the main question is like, so what are the opportunities with their teacher training programs right now? What can we do differently?
what can we do differently? I mean, if you're talking about Ireland and Europe,
Hmm.
especially, I mean, knowing Ireland and what's happening here, I think we can overall raise our standards, especially, and it's not, I'm not going to pick on any school,
No, of
everybody
course
should
not.
be a little bit more professional and not ever do that, keep it to yourself. But basically, I think overall raise your standards, everybody,
Hmm. Hmm.
because I've seen a lot of people come to me and saying, I did this 2-day reformer qualification. We were tested, I was given the handouts, but I don't feel like I know anything. And
Yes.
then they have a fear of teaching. They maybe don't know how to do the exercises. Of course, can you blame them though? You can't, because the school advertised, the marketing was really good. The course seemed good, the teachers seemed good, but then they come away with not much, so they're sort of taken into either take other courses or become frustrated or learn through YouTube, which is not always the safest way to go.
Hmm.
I think overall, just the educators really could do a better job across the board.
Yes.
Obviously I am bringing Romanos Pilates into the country, and I'm happy and to stand behind it. And like the educators we work with, Rebecca in London, Marjorie in The Hague, are really thorough, and that's why I love working with them to
Yes.
this day, because they're constantly challenging me. And but I think overall people just need to get a bit more clarity as to what they're doing. They need to check their marketing. For example, a lot of people advertise, and put words in there, advanced, comprehensive, when it's just a basic math qualification.
Yes.
So they
Yeah.
make it sound appealing,
Yes.
but it's not much in it. And I think I would almost give advice to people to take their time more and research what they are going to study. Go
Hmm.
to different classes. But I
Yes.
think educators could definitely do better with I don't like it when people say, oh, that school sucks, or like say, I think it's a very popular one in fitness. I remember, oh, CrossFit is so hard and it's bad for you,
Yes.
that kind of thing.
Yes.
But have you ever tried it? have you tried it, but have you just done one class or have you done it consistently? Do you know what it is about?
Yes, right.
Sort of, and then the manuals, I see a lot of manuals written incorrectly, just from people showing me reading things
Mhm.
where just the facts are all based on anecdotes.
Yes.
Or they have this small little classical section and say this is it, or it's dangerous and outdated, which is very, very sad.
Yes, yes.
That's, business ethics, professionalism, something I think our industry
Yeah.
needs to kind of, I mean,
I hear
honestly,
you. Yeah, I hear you. And this is not like we're knocking one specific school. We're saying
no.
generally, and that's why I phrase it as opportunities to grow because it's not a regulated worldwide system. Like
Hmm.
in Canada, I can say the Ontario College of Teachers or the
Hmm.
nurses, whatever. So everyone is trying to do their own thing and trying to get their small piece of the market and then make sure that their teachers are teaching the way they want them in their studio. So yeah, no, I hear you on that.
And I
I
think it was today. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, so I was going to read Joel's comment here, but please go ahead.
So 2 days ago, I think you had Rat Pilates on, and she said, 2 years in, she only heard about Romana's exercises, and she was like,
Yes,
"Excuse me, what?" And she
yes,
said it was watered down. And I, absolutely agree with her. There is definitely a lot more information and resources, factual resources. Even take the biography of Pilates,
yes,
written by Javier Perez Pont. It's hard to read. It's like a big, huge body of work, and it's not even for
yes,
reading. It's more for checking your facts.
yes,
So it's not enough anymore to say Joseph Pilates was a sickly child and tell a bunch of myths in your manuals. I think people should really up their game that way. And when it comes to giving access people to resources when they want to know more, learn more, I think people themselves need to give them a little bit more. Kind of like it's okay. You even if you studied with whatever school, you
yes,
can do and teach and study whatever you want. It's all in your
yes,
head. If you
right.
are telling yourself, "I'm not belonging here," or somebody told you a myth of those people are bad, like it's just so made
Explore it
up.
for yourself. And I think
Yeah.
that's the beauty of this time that we're in. My wife is also in fitness, and she would always say, "Shop your instructors."
Hmm. Yeah,
Right. So
absolutely.
and what beautiful opportunities do we have now where I can take a class with someone in Ireland or someone in Australia or someone in Atlanta or someone in Alberta. You can go
Hmm.
wherever because I don't have to physically go there and find
Yeah,
my instructors and find that school of thought. So I may have learned from Stott or a classical school of thought, but then may find that Bassi is where I need to be because it just makes sense in my body or whatever the case is.
exactly.
So we can go wherever we need to now, like
Yeah,
virtually,
yeah.
right? So
I think overall schools need to build more confidence in people rather than, I can see a little bit of a fear-based mentality there. They're,
yes, yeah,
you know, um, creating teachers, but they are almost telling them that they are not enough or something, and people are
yes,
then afraid. I can see it again sometimes among the teachers here. They either prefer to stay within their comfort zone, they never venture anywhere out,
yes,
or if they come somewhere else to an event where it's a gathering of people, they don't know what to expect. Now,
right,
I've never had any negative experience, and I've met a lot of beautiful people in Dublin from this industry, but I've heard a lot of why people are so afraid, for
mm,
different reasons and different people not being nice to each other. But it's just like that conflict, when the classical contemporary breakup happened with the court,
yes,
and those
yes,
people had an argument between them. It was more about business, and everybody just sort of like following along and still
yes,
playing into that conflict. Like, you
right,
guys weren't even there. Like, why are you getting involved in that?
right, yeah, exactly. That's so true. And what you're just saying about teaching based on fear, there's something to be said for just the fact that like if I was doing any kind of teacher training program, if I had that in my space, the one thing that I would cultivate within people is an appetite to learn more.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, like if I could just get people hungry to learn more,
Hmm.
that would be the one thing I take away from, like, make sure that has a takeaway.
It's a
And that's just,
culture.
it's a culture. Create that culture of
Hmm.
learning and just wanting to always be better. When I was doing my personal training certification, I had like a degree in, like, I had a master's degree, I had an undergrad degree in a completely different field. And the lady that was taking me on to mentor me in the personal training world was saying, like, you have a degree, which tells me you have an aptitude to learn.
Yeah.
So that aptitude to learn is the thing that is your ticket in the door, more so than saying I have a degree in
Skills.
biomechanics or I have a human, whatever it is. So those are the things that it comes down to. Like, can we cultivate an aptitude for learning within people?
Yeah. I mean, I find that's crucial, and people shouldn't be afraid to ask questions. People should also be answered to the best of their ability, but also people shouldn't expect that they will get answers to their questions right away.
Right.
Sometimes with, in terms of some, it's like, the question of like, but how do I lose weight? Like, how do I lose weight? It's
Yes.
like, just tell
Right.
me, give me the
Give
magic
me the
pill. So
magic pill. Yes.
yeah, how
Yes.
do I fix this exercise? And sometimes, and we are so kind of used to this in this day and age of social media, and this kind of in the 80s where it's like a reel of somebody training, somebody winning, somebody sort of like doing it all in the space of 5 seconds.
Yes.
And then in reality, it's not like that ever, really,
No.
right? So
Yeah,
it takes
exactly.
time to build something that is worthy and it's good. I even have a dedicated teachers class on Thursdays at 1, and in the end, I always leave time for people to ask questions.
Hmm.
And at first, maybe you could see some people weren't used to it, and then slowly and surely, people are like asking me whatever they want, and I'm
Yes.
just
Once
so
they feel like
delighted
it's
to
a
see
safe
that.
space, right?
Yeah. No,
Yes.
absolutely. You have to create that safe space. I think in order to do that, I think, because it's kind of coming back to your question, how do you do that? You have to
Hmm.
build a bit of a relationship, don't you, first?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So you have to take your time, get to know a person, hear them out, see what the body tells you about them. You're not going to show them down, essentially, right? Never
Right.
really. But yeah, and you have to find the approach to them as well. Like it's sort of individual, right? But you have to
Absolutely.
build a relationship.
I
It's
think
kind of
that
a student-teacher relationship more so.
yes. And what you were saying earlier about the different schools and the way people are treated by other studios and whatever the case is, colleague to colleague, not just teacher to
Hmm.
student. There needs to be
Yes,
that sense of building relationship and
totally.
partnerships and those things, so that
Yes.
if someone comes into your
Nobody's
space,
lesser.
no one's lesser. Oh, but you studied in New York and I just studied locally. You must be this high and mighty person. So let me just come in. Right, exactly. So when you come in and make it so that we all belong here, we
Yes,
all have learning and we
absolutely.
all have things we can learn from one another and we cultivate that,
Hmm.
that's that new culture that we need to create within our spaces, right?
Yeah, and I think, in fairness, in Dublin, I see that happening in several places where people are becoming a bit more comfortable again at the school, coming back to the places, and or there is that colleague to colleague. There is a fair few colleagues of different backgrounds that I am
Hmm.
very good friends with, and it's so nice to see so much respect and understanding. Like you do you, I do myself. In terms
Yes.
of it's all good. It's this
Philosophy.
is like
Yes.
it's really all good. We can agree, we can disagree. It's still, we're still people.
Hmm.
It's just Pilates, guys.
It's
Like,
just Pilates. I'm just about to say that. It's so true. We get so caught up in this small corner of the world called Pilates. Like it is the whole entire world. And
yeah.
it is really it is just Pilates. Yeah.
Like it's a powerful tool, it's a powerful tool
Absolutely.
of getting people like returning them to life or to themselves. And,
Yes.
you can use it whichever way you want to. And
Hmm.
it's great to be a scholar of Pilates, but I think to
Yes.
be a scholar is to be actually open to all of it, right? You can't just be
Yes.
kind of limiting yourself. And again,
Right.
the more importance you give it, like it's not good for anybody.
Well, this is true, and a lot of the bigger conversation is around our own identity and who we see ourselves as.
Mm,
If I think of myself as I am the Pilates master, and I'm important because I have a bricks and mortar space, and I'm important because I studied under this person, and I'm important because of this lineage, and then we make Pilates bigger, larger than life. We make ourselves as big as that, and that's still only one corner of who we really are, but we make
yeah.
it everything, right? And I think that's dangerous when we wrap our whole identity around around that one thing, whether it's
And
Pilates or
it's
something
never
else.
true. Yeah, it's never true. It's never good. I think as soon as a person starts to think of themselves as a master, grand dame, or whatever, then that's when you're over. In
I know.
terms of you're teaching for your ego. It's funny because of course, like a lot of my teachers, I've never heard them call themselves that. It's only the other people who
That's good.
are saying that.
Yes, yes,
And then
that's
I've seen
good.
in other cases, I've seen people, offering courses where you can become a grandmaster trainer. So then I was like, that's
Yeah,
tempting, as in I'm
right.
joking, but yeah, I didn't know
Yes,
you could pay somebody,
right.
to
I'm pretty
become,
sure
yeah,
I could
but
do that. We could totally do that. We could have like mail order Grandmaster Pilates certified king of the world certificates. They could carry it around like
I
a little
love
card in
it.
their wallet.
Yes,
And
let's
yeah, we
reel
could
the
do that.
money in.
Yeah, exactly. It's I'm sure it's out there. We probably could Google that and
Oh
find it this
yeah, oh
afternoon.
yeah. I get a bit upset when people start offering online training, honestly. If
Yeah.
you want to teach, if you want to teach only online and only to groups, that's probably a great way to go about it, right? But
Yes. Yes.
yeah, it's just something against, like there's a lot of things you can study online,
Right.
but to become a Pilates teacher in all its entirety is not the way.
No. Yeah. We need
That's
to
just my
find.
personal thinking. Yeah.
Yeah. We need to adapt, and that's a larger conversation about how do we adapt to these times and having
Yeah.
virtual and practical pieces. But I want to circle back to something you said earlier
Okay.
because it's almost like you
Sure.
answered your own question
Yeah.
or statement, or like we were saying that you're not into sales,
Hmm.
right? When you said that, but then at the same time you said it's about relationships. I remember this guy telling me one time that the key to sales, the five keys to sales are relationship, 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 and relationship.
That's great. I nailed it then.
You nailed it. Exactly. So you can't say that you're not in sales if you're building relationships because that's all it is that you create this trusting space where someone says, I need what you have. You have
No,
the answer to what I'm looking
absolutely.
for, right? So it's funny, hey, like, I mean, like us as fitness professionals, we actually are salespeople.
Yeah, yeah, no, there is an element to that. And that's why I said, even you were circling back to that thing of how to improve qualifications. I suppose this could be something that schools could teach us,
Yes.
to do a little bit better. So
Yes.
business aspects and stuff. Not to say that you can't learn it elsewhere and through experience.
Hmm.
Experience a lot of the time is really try and error, right?
Right.
But the only problem is when it's sort of the sales is the kind of the driving force. That's
Absolutely.
again,
It's like that greasy salesman type mindset,
yeah,
right? Yeah.
yeah, you sort of like, yeah, and then I remember that's when we did personal training in fitness, and I remember somebody said, okay, you have to sell this green tea supplement. And
Yes.
I'm like, I don't drink supplements. I was like, I never, I mean, I drink vitamins and like iron and stuff, but,
Yes.
the green tea, guarana, whatever. And he was like, telling me how to sell it. And I was just there. I was like, I'm never doing it, dude. I'm just not doing it. I just
Yeah.
feel so bad. It's not kind of authentic. It's not true to yourself. Like I also read the label and there is so much bad things in it. Like how can I do it to a person? So when you're
Right.
promising them like that false promise, of
Yes.
fixing you within the 6 sessions or whatever. It's just
Yes.
um, not really a great way to address people's issues overall.
Yes, exactly. And that's the relationship. Like if you're trying to build trust with these people, you can't be like, oh, you definitely need this,
Yeah.
magic potion to feel better. Like
But
that's not
sometimes,
authentic, right?
on that same subject, people sometimes are primed to come in and say, because personal trainers, physios, industry primed us to do that, and personal trainers started to do like, okay, you're misaligned. So I can guarantee you that within 10 sessions, I can fix that. So
Right.
that would be their sales speech, right?
Right.
At the
That's
time, like
yes.
what, 8, 10 years ago, or whatever.
Right.
So you'd promise that, and you'd take before and after pictures, etc.
Yes.
And sometimes you just be great in talking. So sometimes people come to you and they're looking for that, package, or what
Yes.
package do you offer?
Right.
Um, but unfortunately, it's not how it works.
No,
If I,
exactly.
if I were true,
Yes. Yes. No,
and
I
I will
agree with you.
say that, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. We I think sometimes because we're in the fitness industry, Pilates, whatever, because we want to help people, we want to make people feel good, like Joel's saying stuff, and that is 100% true. So I think that we have this perception that we're gonna be this slimy like
Hmm.
salesperson if we talk sales, but the reality is that if we're so passionate about our craft,
No, you
there's
shouldn't be
like
afraid. Yeah,
we shouldn't be afraid. Yeah,
like
yeah.
you wanna
So
you wanna have a hot body and you want to have tacos, right?
yeah, yeah, exactly.
I'm just making fun, but
Yes,
the reality is, I remember it was funny when I moved to New York to do the program. The first thing I did, I brought a big cheesecake to the studio, and I said, I'm here to eat cheesecake and study Pilates. And the truth was, I was there more to eat cheesecake, because I love cheesecake. New
yes,
York baked cheesecake is, my
yes,
thing. Very hard to get in Dublin, proper one. So.
yes.
It's the truth, like,
Yeah.
and I didn't fall in love with Pilates like right away. I felt it was different, but I didn't know whether I enjoy it or what it's going to be like. It took me a
Hmm.
while to fall in love, so that's also true.
Yes, exactly. Nice.
And I mean, I
Yes,
on the base, sorry,
oh, sure, go.
to like when it comes to sales, I'm comfortable with selling Pilates because I truly believe into it. Not like
Yes.
it's not a means to an end, or like it's not everything. Pilates isn't everything, but it is a very powerful, useful tool that works. It fixed my body from multiple injuries and things beyond the injury level.
Mm.
So when you believe into something, when you think it's good, it's much easier to sell. That's what I was gonna say. So sorry for
Absolutely.
interrupting you.
No, no, no. I was just gonna say thanks for your time. We're
Oh, you're
at
welcome.
59 minutes. Like we've just blown through this.
Is it
Um,
gonna cut off?
no, actually, it doesn't anymore. Fortunately, that's so.
Okay,
It
good.
used to have this like, see, like 11 o'clock. It would have been like, okay, bye. Like, I used to hate that. Oh, so, so I can take my time and say thank you so much for joining me, and thank you for giving us just an insight into what Pilates in Ireland, in Dublin looks like. I'm looking forward to finding an excuse to going to visit you at some point and going
You
for a
should
workout.
come. Yeah, you should come stay with me. I'll take you around. I mean, if you have a big family, we're gonna have to put you in a hotel. But at the same time, I'd love to have you over. I love showing around Dublin, and thank you so much for having me, the opportunity to speak. And
Mm,
also, I really appreciate it. And I'd love to hear what people think in comments as well. Maybe something
yes.
that I didn't say right. Correct me. I love it.
That's how we get better, right? Like exactly. Nice. And yeah, so I'll send you the replay later, and this will get converted to a podcast a little bit down the road as well. So I line that up, and
Awesome.
yeah. So thank you so much. Thank you for all of your insights, and I just really enjoyed our conversation today.
Oh, thank you. I hope I
Mhm.
hope you did. I hope you truly did, because
Uh,
you're so nice to everybody and you do so many interviews. I'm like, how does he do it? How does he have an
oh,
energy to do it?
I don't know. This is my thing. My kids say that. She's like, "You're so nice all the time." It's like, no, just like that's just who I am. That's just what we do. But whatever.
Okay, okay,
It's
okay.
all good. Yes.
Right.
All right.
Nice
Thanks
meeting
again,
you
Vlada.
online.
Yeah, so
Bye.
nice meeting you. Take care.